What's up everyone, this is Killer VZ2, and today I'm going to show you every single character and skill in Resident Evil Revelations 2 Raid Mode. Now before we start, whenever I say signature skill, that means it's a skill that only one character has, and therefore to get it to other characters, you have to play as that specific character. Another thing is, I'm not going to go through every single skill for every person, just every new skill as they come up and their signatures based on the character. So first up, and we're not really doing this in any specific order, we have Hunch, who is a DLC character. Now, his active skills are Electric Bottle, which does electric damage and also increases damage output on enemies for a set amount of time. He also has Smokescreen Bottle, which obviously makes it harder for enemies to see, and you can actually, get stealth kills with this. Then we have Decoy Bottle, which attracts enemies to it and then explodes. Then we have Exploding Bottle, which is just an explosive bottle you throw and it explodes on impact. And that brings us to his signature, which is Stealth Cloak. You become invisible and enemies can't see you, and as you upgrade it, it lasts longer and has a, shorter cooldown time. One of my favorite abilities. As far as his passives go, he's going to take the longest, because then I'm going to be skipping over, all these other ones on other characters. So let's start. Here I inherited Shield on him. He doesn't originally have Shield, but Shield blocks a certain amount of damage and the shield regenerates. Scavenger. Every time you kill an enemy, you have a certain percentage chance of getting ammo based on the level. Crouch Power, which increases attack power while crouching. Quick Heal increases recovery speed. Now that shortens the amount of time it takes to use a healing spray. Stuck on You, your bottles will stick to enemies and do extra damage. Extreme Healing, heal under any circumstance. That means you can use a healing spray while you're on the ground, while you're reloading, no animations will stop you from being able to heal. Can't Catch Me increases evasion duration and decreases evasion recovery time. That means it increases the tiny window you have of invincibility when you evade, and also it shortens the amount of time you are evading, so you can get back into the action faster. Magic Pixel. If your health is a certain percentage, here it's 1 because I have it fully upgraded, you will not be killed by killing blows. It starts at 50%, which doesn't seem very useful, but what this skill does is essentially mean that certain enemies that have insta-kills, if your health is above the threshold listed here, it will not kill you, which can obviously be very useful, especially when in the levels that don't let you respawn. Health Up, which is one of my favorites, increase max health to 2,000 points, which is double. 1,000 is default health, and fully upgraded you have double the health. Herb Storage, increase herb storage capacity, pretty, straightforward. Machine Pistol Master. Now, with these masters, they're all pretty much the same. Increase capacity and increase reload speed. Now, capacity does not mean magazine capacity. What it means is your overall total reserve ammunition. So, here you have Machine Pistol Master, increased capacity like that, and reload speed. Also for these masters, reload speed does not increase every level. It's like every 5 or so levels. Assault Rifle Master, same as before. Overall ammo for your assault rifle, reload speed for your assault rifle. Melee Master, increased damage from melee attacks, and you get to swing your knife faster. Sniper Rifle Master, again, a weapon master, overall ammo, reload speed. And Magnum Master, overall ammo capacity and reload speed. Next up we have Pedro, and for his active skills we have Firebomb Bottle, inflict fire damage. Enemies will also take damage as they're caught on fire. He also has Ice Bottle, inflict ice damage, and it slows enemies when they're affected by it. And these other two skills are nothing new, so like I said, we'll just skip ahead. This is actually his signature, which means he's the only character with this skill, and this is Drill Charge. It's kind of like he flings forward with his drill, and it does some pretty significant damage I obviously don't have it leveled up, but you can go in and look, and it does give some pretty decent bonuses, so it can be very useful. Here we are with his passive skills, and the first one new we have is landmines. Place bottle weapons on the ground, they'll be triggered on enemy contact. Also new is handgun master, again overall ammo reserve and reload speed. Also new for him is shotgun master, once again overall ammo reserve and reload speed. And this brings us to the last new passive, and also a second signature for Pedro, which is crouch dodge. You gain a certain amount of seconds of invincibility when crouching. Obviously that goes up whenever you level it up. Next we have Gina, and she has no new active skills, so we're going to go right ahead into passive. And to start out, she has gesticulating. This is a signature for her, and basically your gestures do attacks. Gestures are little like emotion kind of celebration or anger kind of things your character can do to dance around, and they'll actually damage enemies, which is quite funny. However, I don't find it, all that useful. There's better skills, but it can be entertaining, and it can be good for, getting out of sticky situations when you're surrounded. He also has Grenade Master, which increases explosion blast radius. Next up we have Albert, and he is also a DLC character and also has no new active skills we haven't talked about. So let's get into his passives. To start, he has Powering Up. Hold down right trigger to charge physical attacks. That's when enemies are stunned and you get that right trigger prompt. You can hold it in and let it go, and it'll do more damage. He also has a signature, which is Evade Cancel. Cancel any other action with an evasion. So if you're reloading, any kind of I believe, I haven't tested this out, but I believe if you're on the ground, falling, all that stuff, you can immediately evade and get right back into the action, which can be very useful, and is also the most expensive upgrade in the main campaign. Next we have Barry, and he has no new passive skills, but he does have a new very, very useful active skill, which is Rocket Launcher. It is crazy powerful. It can basically one-hit anything if you level it up, slowly as you're going through, other than Revenants, but that's just because it brings them down to absolutely no health, and then you just have to hit the orange bulb things. But it has a huge blast radius, and one of the best skills in the game. As you level it up, it does more damage and you get more uses, so definitely one of my favorites. Next we have Chris, and he has a new active ability, which is also a signature for him, which is Coat of Armor. Get gold-plated body for 8 seconds of invincibility. However, you're also slowed, but it's totally worth it. Again, one of my more favorite skills. He also has another very useful skill, which I haven't quite unlocked yet, but it is Armor Up, and another signature for him. Reduce damage received by 10%. Now, again, I haven't upgraded it, but I imagine every level up does at least 5, if not another 10%. So that can be a very, very useful skill. Even if it's only 1% increase for each time, say that makes it 15%. That's still a very significant damage reduction, which I'm willing to bet it's much more than that. So definitely one I'm looking forward to getting eventually. Next up we have Moira, and she actually has no new active or passive abilities we have not talked about. So, I guess I'll just give you a second here to check her out, and we'll move on. Next we have Neil, and he has no new actives we haven't talked about, but he does have a signature passive, which is Auto Evade, and it's pretty simple. Evade automatically, and as you level it up, the cooldown reduces. So he's more often to evade, and you don't really have to worry about hitting the B button. You can just focus on shooting and killing, and he'll evade when he needs to. Next we have Cipher, which is actually the guy when you enter raid mode you spawn as, and he's kind of one of the trickier ones to get, or maybe not trickier, but he just takes some time to get. you have to get 90 total medallions, which isn't even possible if you just own the first episode, even with the DLC maps. So he's impossible to get until you have episode 2. But the whole game's out now. In fact, I believe the hard copy's out, or it is next week. I'm not sure. But he shouldn't be hard to get, just some time. For his active skills, he only has one skill, and it is a new one, and it is a signature, Taunt. Attract enemies within 10 meters. You know, pretty straightforward. He just gets everyone to come in and attack him. For passive, he also only has one in as a signature. He just has shield because I inherited it. But it's Samurai Sword. Use a katana instead of a knife. Basically, the katana has a higher attack power than the knife, and has a much wider area of use. You can hit a lot more enemies with each swing. So he's definitely a bare bones character. In fact, he doesn't get any weapon slots until, like, I believe level 8 anyway. So he's definitely like a specialized character, and really just like a challenge one to play as, especially when you get into the, you know, invisible enemies and also enemies that can one-hit you. Next up, we have Gabe, and he has no passive abilities we haven't talked about yet, but he does have a signature active ability, which is Ground Pound. Strike the ground with a mighty blow to deal damage. As you upgrade it, obviously more damage, uses, cooldown time, what have you. Good for getting out of, you know, again, sticky situations. Next up, we have Jill, and she has no active abilities we haven't talked about, but she does have a signature passive, which is Evade Extension. Increase evasion distance to 120%. As it levels up, obviously that number goes up, but basically this is how far away you move when you're dodging. So you can, you know, get away from bigger, larger attacks like the Iron Head axes. You know, makes it easier to dodge. Next we have Claire, and she has no new actives and she has no new passives we haven't talked about. However, I did want to bring up, she is one of the original people that can have shield, along with Pedro. Everyone in this list has had it because I've inherited it, and when you get a character's skill to max level, you can inherit it, and that basically means any character can use it. Next up, we have Eugene, the crazy Russian guy from the campaign. Another, I don't necessarily want to say tricky again, but a time consumer, because you have to beat the first extra episode that you get with the game to get him. So I guess technically he's DLC, although it's included in like the season pass. Although I guess technically so is Hunch too, but you can buy them all separately. This whole game can be bought piecemeal, which is kind of iffy, especially since they try to sell you you know, storage and all that kind of stuff. But we're not going to get into that. Also costumes, but we're not going to get into that. So here we have Eugene. He has no new active skills we haven't talked about. However, he does have a signature passive, which is Hurler. Increase bottle throwing speed to 120%. You know, pretty straightforward. Next we have Alex Wesker, and she has no new passives we haven't talked about, but she does have a new active, which is Bewilder, which causes enemies in the area to be confused. As you upgrade it, you get more uses, quicker cooldown, and it lasts longer. And last but not least, despite me not playing with him pretty much at all, is Leon. And he has a new signature active and a signature passive. His signature active is Shockwave, which is similar to Ground Pound, except his does less damage, but it knocks enemies away, which I think is more useful than Ground Pound. And his signature passive is Savor the Moment. Increase knife attack power and increase movement speed while using the knife. So knife does more damage and you can move around faster while using the knife. You mix that with some of the other melee master stuff and possibly the katana, you could have a very, very strong melee character, also with the shockwave. So I definitely want to try that out at some point, you know, when I get the time. That about does it for this video. I hope you liked it. Rate, comment, subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will see you later.